massively uplevel your performance in all areas of life, you've come to the right place. My goal on this podcast is to take you beneath the surface so you can connect with yourself on a deeper level while providing you with valuable insights and the tools necessary to navigate life's challenges and go after your goals with strength, clarity, and wisdom. If you're ready to uncover the truth which lies underneath so you can recognize your powerful feminine leadership style, pursue your goals unapologetically, and thrive in every aspect of your life, hit the follow button and get ready to explore the incredible possibilities that lie within you. Together, we'll uncover your next steps in achieving peak performance, because actually, you can. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Actually You Can. Today's guest holds degrees in psychology and rhetoric and has a background in the armed forces. It was through her work teaching conversation and relationship building techniques to military personnel that she discovered the transformative power of charisma. She now specializes in leading bespoke coaching and science-backed classes, helping individuals enhance their interpersonal skills with a particular interest in building charisma. Welcome to the show, Milena.
Thank you so much, Murph. Thanks for having me. I've really been looking forward to having this conversation today with you.
I'm super excited for this conversation too. And just hearing the word charisma, I know some people might have an idea of exactly what that is, but I'm curious to hear from you. What exactly is charisma, and how did you become interested in learning about charisma as a particular human trait?
Absolutely. So there have been so many different definitions and interpretations of what charisma is throughout history in different societies, in different cultures, and because of different goals that one might have with evolving this quality within themselves. But I have landed in a definition that I've built myself, which is charisma is an irresistible vibe fueled by life energy and deriving from a connection to life itself. It's both an enabler and a reflection of us living in alignment with our life vision, experiencing flow in our endeavors, and attracting meaningful relationships. So it's a long one, but it touches on the things that people actually desire when they are thinking about why would I want to be charismatic. It's the meaningful relationships. It's having this ease about them and this vibe that makes people see them and notice them and allowing them to have an impact in other people's lives in the best possible way. So that is the charisma that I'm trying to teach people about as much as I can. And I've, just like you said, picked the science-backed aspects of charisma to make it as actionable as possible, but also that it's backed by research. And I have also made sure to include lots and lots of my personal stories, my personal journey, because I went from this really shy girl to someone who is not afraid to do everything I need to follow my dreams and make my life vision come true. And that's what I want for everyone, to be able to do that. I want it to be accessible, doable, believable, and natural and effortless.
I loved how you've described it as an irresistible vibe. I'm not going to lie, I Googled the definition. A couple of different ones came up just to make sure I had a really clear understanding of where I could take today. But your definition is by far the best that I've come across. So I love that.
Thank
Look forward
you.
to
Thank
looking
you so
back
much.
on the recording and noting that one down. And so you mentioned your personal journey with charisma. I'd love to hear more about that. You mentioned that you're a really shy girl and you developed the quality of charisma. How did you get from
Yeah.
point A to point B?
So first of all, I'd like to mention context. So different contexts will have different effects on people. Maybe you've noticed for yourself that you will come into different roles, different parts that you play in your theater of life, so to speak, depending on where you are and who you are with. So that was one of the big things that really affected who I was, or rather, which aspect of myself I was showing to the world and the people around me. And the context at school, somehow there, I did not feel that I could totally be myself. Whenever I tried to be more myself, I didn't feel that I was welcome. It was very few people who I felt that they understood me at school. Whereas when I was at home with family, with my friends at the neighborhood where I lived, there it was a completely different story. I was outgoing. I had lots of friends. I did not hesitate to speak my mind, share my opinions, um, come up with fun ideas that everyone else wanted to join in on or join in on others' ideas. So it was like two different people, the shy Milena at school and the outgoing Milena at home. So this was something that fascinated me a lot. Like, why do I feel that this label that doesn't feel like me is so cemented in this specific context? Okay, so now I'm putting very adult words on this, obviously. I didn't think in these terms when I was that young, but it was something, the feeling of it was there. The question of it was there. And that is something that has been with me for a very long time, that specific question. How can we set in motion the shifts, the patterns that are needed to be able to create the circumstances, the external circumstances that fit us and our needs the most, the best, so that we can really be ourselves? And also, how can we change what needs to be changed in the external circumstances so that they can affect us in a positive way and contribute to us building and creating the optimum internal world for ourselves?
And you touched on a really important subject there about being able to change our external circumstances. I think a lot of the time we think we're victim to what goes on around us. And yes, there's some things that we can and can't control, but I love how you've touched on that. And so I'm curious to hear a little bit more on our ability to influence the context in which we operate in, because if we could all create contexts in which we thrive, I'm sure we would all feel a lot happier and charismatic in this sense. And so I'd love to hear from you in terms of charisma. How can we start developing charisma? And then how do we start? I'm assuming that involves looking at our context. Would that be correct?
Yes, absolutely. I love these examples that you're giving. The external circumstances will definitely have an effect on how we feel in our everyday lives. And let's say our everyday life consists of going to work or to school, and we're there for several hours each weekday. And if those hours feel meaningful and fulfilling, then our everyday life experience will also, to a very large degree, a percentage, feel meaningful and fulfilling. But if it's not like that, if it feels draining, if it feels as something we're forcing ourselves to do and just make it through the day, each day, that is going to make our life consist of everydays where our everyday experience is, well, draining us, basically. So I would say, don't look at the vacations, the perfect moments, the perfect dates, or hanging out with your friends, girlfriends, whatever. Those are just small spots in the timeline. You can't just have those to look forward to and live on that. The weekends, the vacations, the holidays, you can obviously look forward to them. I'm not saying don't, I'm saying enjoy them, rejoice in them, but you also need to do everything in your power to create an everyday life where you also enjoy yourself and feel that it's meaningful and fulfilling you, because that is the majority of our time. And whether you're a business owner or you're employed, you're a student at school, high school, university, you name it, what you can do to make this time, the time that takes up the most of your everyday life, do everything you can to make it fulfilling. So what can you do? I am a believer in us setting the tone.
Yeah.
It is a concept that I love so much, set the tone. And what does this mean? It means that we empower ourselves with the belief that we can take the first step in anything. We can take the first step in making a conversation feel meaningful or feel like a waste of time. That's up to us. We can make this conversation start with a smile and the genuine compliment. That is something we can control. So you mentioned, what do we control and what do we not control? Our external circumstances obviously consists of both things we can control and things that we cannot control. And here you have probably heard the term locus of control.
Yeah.
It comes from psychology, and it's very good at describing what we can and can't control. And having an internal locus of control means that we put the we attribute what is in control in a way where we say that we have a lot of power in controlling several things that are happening to us, with us, through us. Whereas an external locus of control means that things are happening to us, and we are just, like you mentioned, victims of the circumstances. And sometimes it is truly the circumstances which are in control. If it's raining, it is raining. That's it. But what you can control in that situation, it's, do you have an umbrella with you or not? Can you plan your day in a way where you can be uh, outside on the sunny days and inside on the rainy days? Now, this is maybe a stupid example with the weather, but it's the same with everything. It is the same with how you approach a networking event, how you approach a presentation at work, how you approach the preparation process for an event like that. Have you, for example, prepared a self-presentation before going to a networking event? If you do that and you have a confident self-presentation about who you are, what you do, what your next step is, and who you wish to make connections with, for example, then you approach this event as a victor already.
Yeah.
You will come there and you will not have to waste resources on thinking up something there in the moment. Like, what am I going to say to these people about myself? You already know. And instead, you can just be there and be present and meet this amazing vibe where they feel heard and they feel like you are interested in them because you actually have the mental resources to be interested in them. You have done your preparation work for that event. That is a super practical tip of how we can ourselves create the circumstances for success. And one of the events that people typically talk about when talking about how can I be charismatic, networking events. Create a self-presentation, memorize it, practice it, and that is already something that gets you ahead of so many other people.
So true. Even hearing you mention networking events, my skin starts to crawl. I'm definitely feel like I'm an introvert that I can be extroverted, but the idea of networking events like scares the shit out of me. And so I'm taking this as another sign to prepare myself. If I have a strong self presentation, then I won't probably feel as underprepared or as overwhelmed stepping into those situations because I can be confident in who I am showing up in those situations. And there's so much in what you just shared before. You mentioned the weather, and a funny example the other day was I think adults, if it starts to rain, adults can be like, oh, it's raining outside. But you only have to look at kids and realize how much more fun life can be in the rain.
Yeah.
And it's just simple change of perspective. So I really like your example there of the weather. And something else came to mind as well is, you know, you get some people who are like, oh, I just need a holiday. And then they get on holiday and all they do is complain about the things that are wrong on their holiday. Misery follows people. If you're choosing to see life through what you can't control or through a pessimistic lens, that's not going to change simply by changing your environment. So I love what you mentioned, that you can find meaning and fulfillment in any situation. I think another example is Viktor Frankl, Prisoner of War. Like, he wrote a fantastic book all about that experience. And this is a bit dramatic, but I mean, if a prisoner of war can find meaning and purpose in that experience, surely we can find meaning and purpose in our role or in our hobbies or outside around our life as well. What would you say to that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I am such an admirer of Viktor Frankl also because of this amazing message sent there. If somebody can find meaningfulness in misery, then obviously we can also find meaning in being a parent. We can find meaning in being a good coworker, in doing our best to grow ourselves for our own sake, because we want to go after our own curiosities and passions. There are so many things just laid out in front of you, like this buffet of all of these things that you can choose to see as meaningful, and they will be meaningful because that is your chosen perspective. And so a perception shift is extremely powerful. The key here is that you actually believe it. And that can take a while. It can take a while to actually believe that there is meaning in taking a walk and enjoying the colors
Mm.
that you see in nature. But for somebody else, it could be the most natural and effortless thing in the world to just come out and feel gratitude for all of this beauty that is all around us. And they can use that as fuel because that is, in another sense, in a more spiritual sense, that is a fuel of life energy, a source that is available to us. Just taking a step outside of our door and it's there. And sometimes we don't even need to leave the house. We can find meaning in taking a shower and actually being grateful for being able to have all of these sensations that we get through having a skin, through
Yeah.
having our arms, fingers, our face, and we can feel all of these things.
Mm.
That is something that we can only do because we are mammals, we're humans, and
Yeah.
just finding meaning in being able to have this experience as a human being. If you get to that level, then you're guaranteed going to be charismatic just in and of itself from that. And that
Oh.
is just one of the many things we can do. Start seeing that being a human, having a body, having your senses and your sensory system, and being able to interpret all of these stimuli coming into your life and you choosing to attach meaning to them,
Mm.
that is power. That is
Mm.
true power. And that is going to make you extremely charismatic.
Ooh, I love all of that. And I think personally, I've been on a journey where I used to think I had to achieve stuff to add value to the world or to have a purpose in this world. And what I'm hearing, what you're just saying is like, we all have meaning just by being human here. And I know I've been working on that perspective shift myself. And you mentioned a really key component is you actually need to believe it. And I'm so close to honestly believing it. I'm still not quite there yet, but I think that's really important. Is it's the same with affirmations. You can tell yourself that you're beautiful or you love yourself, but if you don't believe it, it's like, okay, well, what's something you can believe
Mm.
until you can build on that till you actually believe wholly that
Yeah.
you have meaning and purpose here. I love that so much. And I think a lot of people listening to this show, a lot of them are really high performing professionals, and some of them may love their job, which is awesome, and some of them may see it as a paycheck. I would love
Mm.
for you to use the context of work and how could these women in particular start to find meaning in their job outside of just a paycheck.
Mm. Absolutely. So, first, I want to address what you said about having to achieve something
Yeah.
to have meaning or achieve meaning. Uh, it is so easy to fall into the belief that you need to be achieving all the time. But what that does is that it creates a habit of needing to achieve. If you always have this next goal in mind, and before you reach that goal, you can't truly be happy and fulfilled and pleased with your life and satisfied with your life. Well, the only thing that happens is that, like you said, misery follows people, but also habits follow people.
Yeah.
And this is the case here that
Yeah.
if you have this habit of always thinking about the next achievement and always feeling the need of having achieved that before you can truly be pleased about yourself and your accomplishments,
Yeah.
that is what's going to be true in a year from now, and in 10 years from now, and in 50 years from now. It's always going to be that way. And a better habit is to shift this and get into, maybe it's a little bit paradoxical, but it's still true, I have found, that you are already satisfied with life
Mm.
exactly as it is. And you are also always on a constant growth journey
Mm.
because whether we do anything consciously about it or not, change will always be here. It is a constant. And whether we are aware of it or not, change is there. Time alters us. We are affected by life events, by things happening in our society, in our communities. So,
Yeah.
of course, we will also change and our lives will also change. And I believe in making change itself into something that we work together with. We create this connection and cooperation with the force of change by being as intentional and uh, having a clear focus on what we want this force of change to create for us. Having this life vision and this feeling of this is how I want to feel in my life, both now and also in the future. And rather than having to achieve to feel that you're good enough, you are simply growing constantly. But you're also in the moment just happy, just satisfied. So if life ended tomorrow for all of us, you would still know that, no, I'm satisfied. I was satisfied when the world ended. I didn't wait for some time in the future where the circumstances are perfect and I have achieved everything on my never ending list to be happy with my life and be satisfied with my life. Because what if
Yeah.
that never comes? Will
Yeah.
people wait to be truly satisfied and happy about themselves in infinitum? Like, that is so sad if you choose to do that. And I say choose to do that because that, as most things in life, is also a choice.
Yeah.
And I would really advocate for the choice of being both happy and satisfied right now, exactly as things are, with the good and the bad, and also always growing and expanding.
Thank you for calling that out, because I think you touched on a really good point with it's a habit of achievement, because you're stuck in a loop of achievement. Like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And by calling out the perspective of feeling like you're already satisfied, I think from an energetics perspective, if you're trying to achieve stuff because you're in lack, it's not the same energy if you're achieving stuff because you are satisfied now and you're growing and you're just hungry to see what's possible for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm cool as I am right at the moment, but I'm keen to see what else I can do. It's completely different energy behind it. And so thank you
Yeah.
for calling that out. I think it's very important.
And also the rest of your question
Yeah.
about making it not just a paycheck, but something
Yeah.
meaningful, it goes hand in hand with this
Mm.
because everything we do, it sends a message. It's not just words. It's not just a presentation. It's not just a meeting with your team. It is something where you send a message about life, about your values, about what you believe for yourself and other people, how you believe in others, all of that. Each connection, each meeting that you have is a possibility for you, an opportunity to send the message, to send your message. And it doesn't have to be like, my message is this, and really like spelling it out. It's
Mm.
between the lines. It's something that comes through how you interact with people. If you smile at them, if you give them sincere compliments, if you give them appreciation for what they're doing in their job. So let's say you're in a position where you actually work with a team, like like most people probably are, and you work with a team and you have the opportunity to express your appreciation of their work.
Mm.
And that is, again, a choice. Many people choose to not say anything. Maybe they're not thinking about this consciously, but once you can think about this consciously, like, why wouldn't you express appreciation to people who are doing a great job and making the whole business thrive thanks to their efforts? This is something where you can choose to become a really charismatic leader by giving them the correct guidance that they need based on who they are as individuals, based on where they're currently at in their personal journey, and uh, make them feel seen and heard and
Mm.
appreciated. So that is where I think, rather than just coming there, doing your thing, getting the paycheck, and that's that, you will still be doing that. You will still be getting a paycheck, but you will feel more fulfilled. Because when you make other people feel good about themselves in your presence, that will create this mirroring effect of you also feeling good with them, with yourself, with what you're doing, and with the meaning and fulfillment that you're creating, both for yourself, but also for all of these people around you.
Yeah, it's the difference between going to work and sitting at your desk doing a job and going home, or going to work and then making a point to engage in the workplace. And to your point, I think when you mentioned calling out other people's work or showing appreciation for other people, you make them feel good and you create that vibe around you, like what you were talking to before. I mean, everyone loves talking to people who make them feel good. It's like a human attraction thing,
Yeah,
I think, but making
absolutely.
people feel good. And then as a byproduct of that, I mean, I'm not sure if it's, right energetic wise if you go compliment people with the goal for feeling good yourself, but it's a natural byproduct that you end up feeling good by making other people happy as well.
Yes, yes, totally. It is also a trademark of a confident leader, somebody who feels
Mm,
secure and
yeah,
safe in him or herself, that they are not holding back appreciation, they're not holding back compliments, but also they're not holding back when they need to say something that needs to improve. They need
yeah,
to be able to also give the feedback that might be hard to give because they want to be perceived as everybody's friend, for
yeah,
example. But if they don't point out in time the things that need to improve, then business wise, it can be a catastrophe because
yeah,
things are going to keep rolling the way it always has. And no changes will be made in the direction that is needed. But also, the people who are doing these things where there might be a correction needed, they will not be able to know that. And basically, this leader would be holding back crucial information that this person needs to improve their job and to grow. So it takes both being the person who is willing to give the compliments, but also willing to give all sorts of feedback.
yeah. And I think you've touched on a few elements there, but I'm curious to dig into, well, what you can share of the work that you've done with the military, and more specifically
Yeah.
how, I mean, I think as you mentioned, there's some really great examples there, but how has charisma, or why is charisma beneficial for people in the military to develop?
Yes. So I was a teacher and I taught human dynamics.
Yeah.
It's like an umbrella word for all of the things that
Yeah.
we taught. It was psychology, perception, memory, questioning techniques, witness
Okay.
interrogation techniques, um, how to build solid relationships. And why this is needed is because sometimes you will find yourself in a situation where something has happened, it has been an accident or something else, where you need to be able to talk to people and gain a good understanding of what went wrong, of what needs to be improved in security
Yeah.
protocols, for example. And you need to
Yeah.
be able to have real facts and not contaminate the memory of these people who were involved, but also make them feel safe in telling the true story. Even if they themselves did a mistake, they need to know that they will not be blamed for it, but rather
Yeah.
this is for everybody's safety in the future so that we can make improvement. So that is one example. But also, uh, being in the military, you need to be able to build solid connections with
Mm.
all sorts of people. It can be for collaborations with other nations. And that is very high stake environments where you need to come in, be professional, and create this bond of trust and respect between
Mm.
yourself as a leader and this other person as a leader. And being able to trust that you and that person will share information in a way that is respectful and professional, basically. So there are lots of different situations where this is needed, from the everyday situations to the more um, high stakes situation.
Wow. It sounds like, I mean, just hearing you talk about it out loud, I'm like, I never thought of it like that. I'm like, it's a very important trait. And
Yes,
it sounds like from your work, it's something that can be taught to people. And so I'm interested to hear a bit more about that. How can someone learn to be more charismatic? And is it something that everyone can learn to be? It's just choosing to develop that skill, or what's been your experience?
yes. So this is something that my colleagues and I have had very interesting discussions and debates about
Mm.
because, well, many different definitions exist. Everything from it's a gift bestowed upon a few select individual by the gods to it is a learnable set of skills
Mm.
and everyone can learn it. And I'm somewhere where I think that it is a set of skills
Yeah.
in one aspect, but it is also a vibe that is coming from within. The set of skills help you to send your message
Yeah.
in a more profound, powerful, and impactful way so that your people can find you and hear you and understand that you are one of their people.
Yeah.
And this is done by making the skill sets feel natural to you if
Mm.
that is what you choose to do. So that comes from doing the internal work as well, because
Mm.
somebody who is just told have good eye contact, but
Yeah.
they feel like when they have eye contact, they will feel very like put under a spotlight
Yeah.
and very self-conscious. They will not be able to hear what the other person is saying. They will feel awkward and they will feel as if they are perceived as very weird and creepy. That is
Yes.
at least something I've heard from many,
No, no,
many
definitely.
students. Yes. And that is not the sensation that a person is going to have if they feel that, like genuinely feel from the inside that having good eye contact means that you hear what the other person is saying without
Yeah.
needing to focus on memorizing what they're saying. And you will know exactly what to say, when to say it, and it will feel natural without having to, while you're listening to them, thinking of the next question that you're going to ask. You're just there and you're just looking at them and enjoying looking at their face and
Mm.
hearing them speak. And it is just an enjoyable experience for you and for the other person. And these two ways to approach eye contact, something as
Yeah.
simple as eye contact, they are completely different from just, do this. It can be so mechanical. And I've seen it. It can be really mechanical if you don't have the internal feeling of it.
Yeah.
Whereas if it is be there, listen to this person, enjoy the conversation, see what you can learn, and appreciate their story. The eye contact, it will just come naturally. It will
Yeah.
just be a byproduct. Like you
Yeah.
said, it will be a byproduct and it will be a much more charismatic and natural and um, pleasing eye contact, both for yourself and the other person, than the mechanical one.
Yeah. And I think people listening, I know as soon as you mentioned like awkward eye contact, like I've definitely been in situations and have probably given my fair share of awkward eye contact because of my internal perception at the times and stuff like that. And so I'm interested to hear you mentioned the internal work and the skill. And I think, especially in corporate environments, the skills are really easy to teach. And I know if I went to my workplace and was like,
Mm.
we're going to do some inner work. I mean, I wouldn't phrase it as that first and foremost, but I can imagine, especially with military personnel, going, hey, we're going to do some internal work now. I'm not sure how well that would be received. How do you coach the two, the skill sets in the
Yeah.
internal at the same time?
Yeah. So we taught the external tools, and the internal work was something that came in the individual coaching
Yeah,
sessions
cool.
based on what each individual actually needed
Yeah.
right then and there. And much of it came very intuitively. They themselves raised a lot of very profound insights based on their performance and what came up, what
Mm.
actually came up in that specific performance. Or sometimes I could give my feedback and also give a few suggestions for some form of small shift in perception or a thought or reflection that they could use to understand the skill sets, the external skill sets, and what it actually means, so that it's not just this technical methodology, but it is also something that reflects an inner state, because that's what you need to understand. Somebody who is effortless in their charisma, in their interpersonal relationships, they will be doing these things without ever having learned them.
Yeah.
We had those people also. They
Yeah.
came to our courses, and the only thing that happened was that they received words and ways of describing behaviors that they were already doing.
Yeah.
They didn't need to change anything. They just could talk about it with the terminology that we all were using, and we all knew what we were talking about. And they didn't really have to think about how to do this. They were already doing it. So that is the thing, that what we're teaching, it's basically what some people are already naturals at. So
Yeah.
this is not an invented form of behaviors. It's
Yeah.
not an invented methodology that all people need to like take regular human behavior and change it into something that is not regular human behavior. No,
Yeah.
it's human behavior already. And it's
Yeah.
already natural human behavior in the context where people feel relaxed and
Mm.
happy and trusting of each other, where they are feeling confident in their message and also feeling responsible for another group of people, for example, in leadership, that they want to guide a group of people through their leadership. And what are they doing as leaders? They're using words. They are using eye contact. They're using their body language, because our bodies is an instrument. Our voice is an instrument of sending a message again. So
Mm.
that's again it, the message. And that's what it all comes down to. You're using your body as an instrument to send your desired message to the group of people that you care about and that you want to connect with and whom you wish the best for. And as a leader, you want to help them seeing things in a way that empowers them. That's it. That's it.
100. There's so much power in what you've just shared. I love the saying your body is an instrument, and also how you mentioned that charisma is a natural human trait. And I think for a lot of people, things have just gotten in the way, or they've adopted certain beliefs that mean that for whatever reason, they're unable to express that charisma that you've described. And so I think there's a lot of people sitting here being like, okay, cool. I really love the sound of this charisma thing. I need to develop more of it. What is a really actionable step someone could do in the next 24 to 48 hours to start to, let's say, unleash their charisma? It's already within them. Let's unleash it.
All right. Yes. So I love to go to do very practical things and start to create a feedback loop of something that will also influence you internally. And one of the easiest ways that you can start doing this is to adjust how you carry your body and then see what thoughts start coming up when you do this.
Mm.
Record them, analyze them, understand what's up, and still don't give up. Maintain what is the correct postures, the correct facial expressions, eye contact, and so on, until it becomes natural for you. So the correct posture is a posture that reflects good health, strength,
Mm.
a willingness to take up your rightful space and place in the world. That means that you carry your head high, you have your back straight, shoulders back, chest forward. And I like to say, when you enter through a doorway, the first thing that needs to come through that doorway is not the nose, it is not the belly, it is the heart. Okay. The heart leads the way. And that is a good way of remembering, how do I carry myself? Well, I'm opening up, because that's what you are doing with a proper posture. You're opening up, you're making yourself physically taking up more space. And also, when you start doing this, the thoughts will come, okay? The thoughts are going to come and be like, for some people, it's going to be like, yeah, of course, body, posture, done, check, next. And for others, it will be like, this feels so weird. Everyone is looking at me, and they are going to think that I'm trying to be someone I'm not, and maybe think that others think, who do you think you are? Go and know your place, and don't stick your head up. Many different thoughts and beliefs will be activated just from doing this very simple thing. And you just observe them and keep at it anyway. And you can answer these thoughts if they turn up by, I deserve to take the space that I am meant to take. And it is my responsibility to stand up for myself, for my message, because nobody else is going to do it for me. I am never going to be saved by anybody, because that you mentioned blocks. That is one of the blocks. The hope of being rescued from whatever circumstances you're currently in by some outside force. It's not going to happen. You need to do it for yourself. And this is one of the easiest ways to start doing that, to carry yourself as a person who is capable of saving yourself. And posture is so easy to start with. So start with that.
That's a mic drop moment if you ever have heard one. There's nothing more I could possibly add to that. Thank you so much, Milena. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
sharing all of your expertise and wisdom with us today. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and I'm looking forward to going back through this episode and practicing my posture as well. The heart leads the way was something that really stuck out to me at the end there. So I'm excited to start practicing that. We could talk for hours about this, but thank you again so much, Milena. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope this was helpful. If you thought of someone while listening to this podcast, I would be so grateful if you could share this episode with them. While you're doing that, please also take a moment to leave a review on the podcast if you haven't yet already. It takes less than a minute and it means so much to me and helps this podcast to reach more people just like you. Thank you so much for that, and I'll see you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out and achieve every dream you have, because actually, you can.